Where were we?
You were saying my impression was way off?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't get it. It was very inaccurate, you know?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at impressions of famous people that sparked massive backlash. Sarah Sherman as Aimee Lou Wood, Saturday Night Live. The White Lotus met the White House in this SNL sketch, primarily taking shots at the Trump administration. The main talking point, though, was actress Aimee Lou Wood, portrayed here by Sarah Sherman. In addition to mimicking Wood with distinct dentures, attention is called to her teeth when Sherman inquires about fluoride.
And I've been having these insane ideas, like what if we took all the fluoride out of the drinking water? But what would that do to people's teeth?
Fluoride? What's that?
The real Wood expressed her disapproval and sadness on social media, calling the sketch mean and unfunny. Wood clarified that she wasn't hating on Sherman per se, but rather hating on the concept.
Oh, this is so on brand for you. To be a victim of your own decisions.
Nevertheless, Sherman sent Wood flowers as a way of saying sorry. Wood also wrote that she received apologies from SNL. While Wood has seemingly accepted the apologies, comedians debate whether SNL went too far or if this was fair game.
Oh, look, a monkey.
I'm gonna go kill it and eat it.
No, not the monkey.
Natalie Venetia Belkin as Gary Coleman, Avenue Q.
Yo, Gary!
I'm coming. Yes, I am!
Although this Tony-winning musical is famous for its foul-mouthed puppets, the principal cast includes a few human characters. Among the standouts is Gary Coleman, whom Natalie Venetia Belkin played in the original Broadway production. The former child star is now the superintendent of an Avenue Q building. While played for laughs, this reflected Coleman's financial struggles and the disappointing realities many face upon reaching adulthood.
I'm Gary Coleman from TV's Different Strokes. I made a lot of money that got stolen by my folks. Now I'm broke and I'm the butt of everyone's jokes.
The real Coleman was initially interested in playing himself, but there was a failure of communication between the actor and creators. Coleman wasn't thrilled with his portrayal, saying in 2007, "I wish there was a lawyer on earth that would sue them for me." After Coleman died 3 years later, his caricature remained an Avenue Q staple, with some revisions.
Try having people stopping you to ask you, what you talking about, Willis? It gets old.
Mae Questel as Helen Kane, Betty Boop franchise. With a career spanning decades, Mae Questel broke out on the vaudeville scene with her impressions of celebrities like Helen Kane.
When she won a talent contest, it was a Helen Kane lookalike contest. She won that contest because she did the best Helen Kane. She really almost became Helen Kane. She took on so many of the similar characteristics.
Animator Max Fleischer thus thought Questel would be an ideal candidate to voice Betty Boop, who was inspired in part by Kane's on-screen persona. Although not the first actress to voice the Flapper Girl, Questel became the definitive Betty Boop, whose popularity eventually overshadowed Kane's.
Work's been kind of slow since cartoons went to color, but I still got it, Eddie. Boop, boop-be-doo.
This compelled Kane to take legal action against Fleischer and distributor Paramount, claiming infringement. Although Kane was known for her boop-boop-a-doop routine, the courts deduced that she didn't pioneer this style. It could be traced back to child star baby Esther, who was often compared to performer Florence Mills. Kane lost her case, while Questel continued to voice Betty.
Did you get everything, huh?
Yeah, I got everything.
Well, so long, everybody.
Michael Clayton as Robin Williams.
Daniel? Yeah? Why in God's name are you dressed like a woman?
Robin Williams rose to superstardom with his unparalleled talents for improv and impressions. Yet, Williams was anything but flattered upon learning that he was being impersonated by a man named Michael Clayton. No relation to the George Clooney character, although Williams would lawyer up.
Do I look like I'm negotiating?
Some found Clayton so convincing that he could pass as the genuine artifact. This sparked confusion among the press and a charity, which thought they were getting the real Williams to perform. Clayton was accused of duping them. Williams, who made numerous charitable contributions throughout his life, ultimately took legal action. Clayton claimed ignorance, blaming agent Michael Poole for the mix-up. Either way, Williams wasn't negotiating.
Mr. Rook wants to add lawyer to his repertoire of impersonations. People have no objection.
Merci.
The case was quickly resolved after Clayton and Poole agreed to a stipulated injunction. Abby Elliot as Britney Murphy, Saturday Night Live.
Seth, I'm really honored to be here hosting Saturday Night Live.
No, Britney, you're not hosting.
Yeah.
On December 5th, 2009, Abby Elliot dropped by the Weekend Update desk, putting on her best Britney Murphy impression. The sketch commented on how Murphy had left the film The Caller reportedly being difficult to work with.
We found that evidently Simon got involved. I don't know if he slapped somebody or hit somebody, and she got fired, and that's why they came back early.
Elliot's lispy voice and exaggerated airhead persona seemed innocent enough. Within 15 days, though, the sketch had aged incredibly poorly. Murphy's unresponsive body was discovered, soon dying from pneumonia and other complications, according to medical experts. While SNL had no way of foreseeing this tragedy, the timing couldn't have been worse.
Britney, that's too bad.
It's not bad, Seth. I got a plan. When the movie comes out, I'm gonna go to the theater and say, boo!
You won't find the sketch on SNL's YouTube channel. Even in syndication, the clip has become difficult to track down, with SNL seemingly going out of its way to forget Elliot's impression ever happened. Martin Short as Frederick Brandt, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Dr. Fluff is here. Jacqueline, you look fantastic.
Thank you, Sydney.
In the 4th episode of this sitcom, the titular Kimmy Schmidt visits a cartoonish plastic surgeon. While the character is named Dr. Sidney Grant, pronounced Dr. Franz, he shared an undeniable resemblance to celebrity dermatologist Frederick Brandt. The two sounded alike as well.
What interesting skin you have.
Oh,
look at that.
Thank you.
Absolutely no sun damage, but you've clearly experienced a tremendous amount of stress.
A month after the season dropped on Netflix, Brandt ended his life. According to Brandt's publicist, the show definitely deeply hurt him. As devastated as Brandt was, the publicist added that the show was not the reason for his depression, and it was not the reason he would take his own life. Whatever was at the root of Brandt's mental illness, it's safe to assume why Short didn't return to Kimmy Schmidt.
Ouch. I assume.
Dana Carvey as Bill Clinton, The Dana Carvey Show.
Our latest research tells us that I'm guaranteed to win re-election if I just don't do anything.
George H.W. Bush defined Dana Carvey's tenure on SNL, but Bill Clinton marked the premature end of his 1996 sketch comedy series. Carvey wanted to establish up front that this was going to be a much stranger, edgier comedy show than what audiences were used to. In retrospect, the newly Disney-owned ABC network wasn't the best fit for the Dana Carvey Show, which opened with the headliner doing a President Clinton impression.
I welcome the challenge from the eventual nominee, and I look forward to debating him this fall. I'm sure that will be a very interesting thing to watch. Look, I'm sorry for laughing, but come on, it's a freak show.
Sounds straightforward, until Carvey reveals multiple nipples for breastfeeding and a hen's buttocks. Although not especially scandalous by today's standards, Democrats and Republicans alike were up in arms at the time.
We got so much hate mail, and one guy wrote, "I am a conservative, and I would never vote for Bill Clinton, but you do not disparage the presidency of the United States, blah, 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 blah."
From that impression on, the writing was on the wall for the Dana Carvey Show, which wouldn't make it past 8 episodes. Jeffrey Weissman as Crispin Glover, Back to the Future Part 2.
What? You're George McFly. Yeah, who are you?
Despite the first film's success, Crispin Glover decided against reprising his role as George McFly. So, the filmmakers conceived an alternate 1985, where George is dead. An older George still needed to appear in 2015. For these scenes, Robert Zemeckis turned to actor Jeffrey Weissman, who could do a good impression of Glover.
What happened to Grandpa? Oh, he threw his back out again.
How's Granddad's little pumpkin?
How did you do that? How did he do that?
Oh, out on the golf course.
It wasn't enough to sound like the original George McFly. Weissman also needed to look the part, which was accomplished using molds of Glover's face. Glover felt this crossed a line, pursuing legal action that resulted in the Screen Actors Guild introducing clauses to prevent an actor's likeness from being used without permission.
You're lying, George. Oh, hey you, get your damn hands off her.
Ironically, Claudia Wells was replaced with Elizabeth Shue as Jennifer, but Zemeckis didn't go to the same extremes. Jimmy Fallon as Chris Rock, Saturday Night Live. In 2017, Jimmy Fallon kicked off his Golden Globes monologue with a Chris Rock impression.
I got advice from everybody. Chris Rock said, a lot of great shows this year. People versus OJ gonna win. People gonna get up there and say, I couldn't have done it without Ryan Murphy.
Fallon had previously showcased the impression on SNL, where he not only put on Chris Rock's voice, but his face as well. While Fallon's impression was jarring in 2000, it seemed to come and go without any real consequence. In an age where people love to joke about jokes that didn't age well though, it seemed inevitable that Fallon's impression of Rock would resurface. As the 20-year-old sketch made the rounds, Fallon issued an apology, calling his impersonation a terrible decision.
I realized that I can't not say, I'm horrified and I'm sorry and I'm embarrassed.
While Rock doesn't condone blackface, he didn't take the sketch personally, saying, "I don't think Jimmy Fallon intended to hurt me," and he didn't.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Will Rogers as Calvin Coolidge.
Rogers would write that a big man should be able to take a joke at his own expense, and he would test a string of presidents to see how long they could hold a smile.
Nowadays, some comedians make a living impersonating presidents. Back in 1928, it was harder to draw a line between reality and parody, especially with a medium like radio. On the air, after Will Rogers announced that he'd be joined by President Calvin Coolidge, this was actually just Rogers doing an impression, but numerous listeners couldn't tell the difference.
You know, he was held about every other political job there was to hold, and there was a time about 2 or 3 years after the war, it was just the man we needed. He didn't do nothing, but that's what we wanted done.
Rogers was obligated to issue an apology, writing to the President and First Lady, "I find that due to my lack of good taste or utter stupidity, that I've wounded the feelings of 2 people who I most admire." Although Rogers promised nothing like this would ever happen again, it wouldn't be the last time he parodied a president, with generations of comics following his example. Do you think any of these impressions went too far? Let us know in the comments.
But it's me, Satan, Steve Irwin. I am the crocodile hunter.